In 2002, with the help of geodesic espionage satellites belonging to the Pentagon, an enigmatic structure was spotted inside the Buski Mountains, which is protected by a hemispherical energy dam. Initially, it was thought to be a strange karst formation, but something caught the attention of Pentagon specialists in particular. It is the hemispherical energy dam that protects the structure in Buski Mountains and has the same shape and frequency of vibration with another secret underground structure discovered near Iraq, but smaller and not as complex as that in Buski. It seems that at that time the members of CSAT from Bucharest wanted to make public this discovery, and in this sense they wanted to make available to the whole world evidence, photos, and other essential elements to clarify the various aspects related to the structure inside the mountain. It also wanted to invite the greatest scientists to conduct studies and research to solve the many puzzles facing humanity, such as the extremely distant past of mankind, to know the real history that has been almost completely counterfeited. After the intervention of the American president and then of the Pope, a final agreement of Romanian-American collaboration was reached, establishing that the revelations be gradually presented to the people, which happens through the books of Mr. Radu Sinamar. The structure in the Buski Mountains is in fact a huge hall-shaped hall built right in the heart of the mountain called the Projection Hall, named after the 10 tables over 2 meters high inside the hall, and which emit holographic projections in various fields such as physics, astronomy, religion, biology and more. It seems, according to scientists who had access there, that the entire complex in Buski Mountains was built about 55,000 years ago. The book Transylvanian Sunrise by Radu Sinamar and Peter Moon does not show which extraterrestrial civilization built the Buski, but from the book Mystery of Egypt, the first tunnel, also by Radu Sinamar and Peter Moon, we find that a room built at a depth of 260 meters below the Giza Plateau in Egypt, and which is connected to the Buski Mountains through a tunnel, it was built by a very technologically advanced extraterrestrial civilization that comes from a distant galaxy and wanted to help the Earthlings by making that underground construction, in which there is a library of tens of thousands of platinum tablets, containing information from the history of our planet but also of the universe. However, until now it is not known whether the extraterrestrial civilization that came from that distant galaxy also made the structure in Buski Mountains, as well as the tunnels and structures that are at the end of the branches of the third tunnel. Maybe we'll find out in one of Radu Sinamar's future books. Also in the huge hall inside the Buski Mountains are the following: a podium with 5 steps on which is a device for amplifying the energy of thought, in the form of a transparent half-cylinder that could be used by a person of about 3.5 meters height. A control panel that maintains the energy balance for the tectonic zone in which Romania is located, some very high metallic devices from which emerge laterally branches of different shapes, and a half-meter amphora containing monoatomic gold that can cause an accelerated process of rejuvenation, allowing the person who consumes at certain intervals a well-determined amount of powder to live in the same body for several thousand years. Also in the same room, near the amphora with monoatomic gold, is a dome that through holographic projection presents sequences from human history, and beyond this dome 20 meters away, are the giant openings of the 3 enigmatic tunnel in the mountain wall. The first tunnel goes to an underground ensemble in Egypt between the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, the tunnel in the center goes inside Earth, and the third tunnel corresponds to a structure inside a mountain in the Tibetan Plateau that is smaller than that in Buski Mountains. From this tunnel there are secondary branches that lead to an area in the basement of Buza area in Romania. Another branch goes and connects with the structure in the basement of Iraq near Baghdad, and from this in the continuum there is a branch to the basement of the Gobi Plateau in Mongolia. Radu Sinamar presents the 3 tunnels in 3 different books: The Mystery of Egypt the first tunnel, Inside the Earth the second tunnel, and The Etheric Crystal the third tunnel. In my presentation I will start with the third tunnel that leads to Tibet, that appears described in the book The Etheric Crystal. Then I will continue with the other 2 tunnels in the reverse order of the books in which they are presented. Thus from the book The Etheric Crystal we learn that this tunnel leading to Tibet is the most direct access to extraordinary worlds. At the end of the tunnel in one of the Tibetan massifs there was a real launching pad both in the subtle field of consciousness and in the outer physical world. As things are delicate at the diplomatic level with China, which has reserved the right not to allow information leaking on this objective, which is located on its territory and which is connected to the Buski Mountains, Radu Sinamar cannot provide too many details yet about the exact location of that structure and what is inside. Although it does not appear anywhere in the book, my opinion is that the mysterious mountain massif in Tibet is none other than Kailash or Kailasa, as it is considered sacred in 4 religions and is mentioned in all religious myths and texts in Asia. It is my personal opinion, but it remains to be seen in Radu Sinamar's future books whether or not this mountain is about. Also, one of the secondary branches of the third tunnel reaches the Buzău area in Romania, somewhere under the Siriu Mountains, where finds an amazing underground structure that plays a precise role at that point. Because this underground structure is of great strategic interest to Romania, as well as for military and security reasons. Radu Sinamar is not allowed to present too many details about what is there. The same remains to be seen in future books if we will return to this decision and we will find out more. The other 2 branches that start from the main tunnel go to the Gobi Plateau and to Iraq. We don't know much about the branch to the Gobi Plateau, but we are given more interesting information about the branch and the occult chamber in Iraq. First, we find out that in front of each of the 3 tunnels there is a control panel similar to the large control panel located centrally, but smaller in size, and also that each tunnel has its own specific features. In order to be able to explore such a tunnel, certain commands must be activated on the control panel next to it, which activates the spatial distortion at the tunnel entrance. From inside the tunnels penetrates a phosphorescent green light that sometimes tends to turquoise. In the case of the tunnel to Tibet, each of its branches contains such a spatial distortion at a short distance from entering it. Also, before each distortion are several colored rhombic crystals about 15 meters from the entrance to the distortion. The occult chamber in Iraq has a rectangular shape and is lit in a light blue hue, being similar to that of Egypt, but smaller in size, 7 meters long and 6 meters wide. The walls of the room have many niches of different depths, made of a phosphorescent indigo color material, that when touched gives the impression of padding. The niches have a rectangular shape and are filled with plates made of a transparent crystal possible material. There are less than 1,000 plates in the room, which is much less than in the occult room in Egypt. These crystal plates have already been inventoried and are to be decoded so that information can be extracted from them. Inside the room is a special chair that seems to be cast on the floor, and corresponds in size and shape to a humanoid being at least 2.5 meters tall. The chair has a modern and ergonomic look, with the backrest much left on the back at an angle of about 30 degrees to the horizontal. On the right side of the seat there is a lateral extension like an additional rectangular block, with a width of about 30 centimeters that has in the middle an empty place, with a rather complex structure on the interior walls. In that rectangular extension is an invisible crystal that could be observed only with the help of a device, provided by the representatives of the city of Apollos inside the earth. The mysterious crystal has a blue color and is in the form of a tetrahedron, with the tip down, which is levitating in the middle area of the cylinder, in a field generated by that space. It seems that the cylinder together with the blue crystal inside was brought to the surface to be studied by scientists. At the top of the seat, corresponding to the place where the head is placed, there are 2 semicircular metal strips and a third is perpendicular to them, having at the lower end a large round crystal next to the forehead of the person sitting in the chair. At the foot, approximately in the ankle area, there is a white crystal band supported by a pedestal which at the base has some light signs in phosphorescent blue. This special chair for accessing Akashic clichés is to be used, but after adjusting the position in the chair, so that the body of a man of normal stature seated in that chair is coupled to all the necessary elements, head, hands, and at the feet. The second tunnel that starts from the projection room in Buski has 2 branches. One of the ramifications offers the possibility of reaching the city of sages in Shambhala, which is in the center of the planet, but indirectly. Specifically, those who go through the spatio-temporal distortions, the first distortion on the main tunnel and the second on the branch, arrive on an island with lush vegetation located in the etheric plane and which is located somewhere north of Iceland. According to the book Inside the Earth, the second tunnel, this branch once reached the center of the planet where the city of Shambhala is located. But at one point something happened that was not even foreseen by the builders of the tunnel. More precisely, behind a terrible cataclysm, the spatio-temporal structure was altered in this area of the Earth, and the tunnel entered the category of so-called side effects. The vibration frequencies changed, but those inside the Earth did not want to completely break the connection in this direction, which was very old and important, so they generated the island with rich vegetation as an intermediate outpost, which is a bridge between the physical plane and the etheric plane. Those who reach this island through the tunnel are awaited or greeted by one of Shambhala's guardians, and those who are spiritually prepared can reach the city of sages in the center of the planet. From the book we find out that Cesar Brad, who works in the Romanian intelligence service, made several trips inside the Earth through this tunnel, both with mixed Romanian-American teams and alone, especially after 2010. Also, Cesar Brad was several times in the city of sages in Shambhala and even remained there for longer periods of time. Radu Sinamar has not yet arrived in Shambhala, but if this happens we could hope for a message from the sages in the center of the planet, for the populations from the Earth's surface, and implicitly for Romanians. Also, not every person can move through the second tunnel that goes to the inside of the planet, and therefore the number of members who have made expeditions through this tunnel is very small. That's because there were people who showed panic attacks, nausea, and a general malaise that prevented them from going through this tunnel. From the book we also find some interesting things about Shambhala, namely that it is in the causal plane and that it has an annular structure that is actually a hierarchy on several levels. So if a person wants to get there, he can only get to his ring, the level that corresponds to his consciousness from that moment, and in the center of the Shambhala is the supreme wisdom. Also, the city of Shambhala is surrounded by high white walls, and beyond the first walls there are tall, imposing buildings with bold shapes, being transparent and shiny, seeming to be made of diamond. Above the buildings are various flying objects, the city giving the feeling of immensity, intense activity, and life pulsating from there. Beyond these majestic buildings are other constructions that for some people seem to be hidden under a halo, but people with a higher consciousness can easily see even from a distance what is inside that halo. Through the second branch of the second tunnel you reach the city of Tomases, which is under the territory of Romania, more precisely under the city of Constanta, or Tomis as it was called in the past, but is at a depth of about 1,500 kilometers, approaching more than the frequency of the etheric plane. The cavity in which the city of Tomases is located was inhabited by our Dacian ancestors thousands of years ago. At first it was inhabited by other beings from the so-called First World that followed a great cataclysm on the surface of the planet. With the loss of the war and the entry of the Romans into the territory of Dacia, the priests of ancient times who served in an area near Tomis and who sometimes visited this cavity, decided that some Dacians should have access to that place and they continue life according to the same values until then, because they considered them too important and valuable to be forgotten. The inhabitants of the city of Tomases speak a language similar to Latin and ancient Greek and are direct descendants of the Dacians, but on an upward spiral. Currently the city has a population of about 200,000 inhabitants, most of them being born on the surface of the earth and only a very small number there, the explanation being that those born on the surface need the energetic influences that come from the stars. And those born in the underground city no longer need these influences because they are at a higher level spiritually. Their way of organizing is the same as in the time of the Dacians. There is a council of elders or a group of sages, and the one who is the wisest leads the city. It seems that at certain intervals they travel to the surface with different missions. In terms of appearance, the city resembles the cities of ancient Greece, but the constructions are made with advanced technology. The inhabitants of Tomases are much more evolved than we are spiritually and technologically. They already master very well the secrets of anti-gravity and have at hand devices that work with this technology. It seems that with the penetration of the Romans in Dacia, the populations from all regions of Dacia retreated inside the earth, creating such cities where they continued their existence and evolution in spiritual and technological terms. All these cities under the territory of Romania, and not only on the territory of this country, communicate and collaborate with each other. They are connected by aerodynamic anti-gravity vehicles that distort space and time, using the gravitational field of the planet, that generates certain vortices of electric and magnetic field. So no physical tunnels are dug through the mantle and the Earth's crust, practically their technology is based on a different physics from what we know on the surface. One of the cities under the Romanian territory with which the Dacians from Tamasis are connected is Apulos. The city of Apulos is located in an area of passage to the Earth's mantle, at a distance of about 70 kilometers from the Earth's surface, in a cavity elongated like a triangle, that extends over a large area under the territory of Transylvania. Having the boundaries between the cities of Oradea Sibiu and Alba Iulia, Romania. The population of the huge cavern took place many thousands of years ago, the people then living on the surface being helped by evolved extraterrestrial beings to populate and found that community inside the earth, that is now the city of Apulos. A city where all constructions and the buildings are made of a transparent crystal-like material. The inhabitants of the city speak the same language as the inhabitants of Tomasis and are also of the Dacian race, but at one point they were hybridized with alien DNA. More precisely, it is a hybridization with one of the Pleiadian civilizations, but the structure of their DNA is much more complex within it. And other branches of hybridization are found, the one with the DNA of the Sirius beings and the one with the DNA of the beings from the planetary system of the star Spica in the constellation Virgo. It seems that the inhabitants of these cities inside the earth have helped us in the past and still want to help us, and for the future the contact between our civilization and that of Apulos, Tomasis, and other cities inside the planet is being prepared. Which from my point of view is a beautiful and positive thing. From the book entitled The Mystery of Egypt, the first tunnel, we find information about the tunnel that connects the projection hall in Buski Mountains, with a mysterious room in Egypt, built at a depth of about 260 meters under earth by an unknown extraterrestrial civilization. That comes from a very distant galaxy and wanted to help the people of Earth through this construction. The tunnel to Egypt, like the other two tunnels, has walls lined with an unknown material that emits the phosphorescent green color, has a strong spatio-temporal distortion, and behind the distortion are 12 extremely pure quartz crystals embedded in the insulating material on each side of the tunnel. It seems that the tunnel has a physical consistency, but does not actually pass under the earth, being more of a virtual replica, unlike the other two tunnels that are dug through the earth to their destinations. More precisely, the tunnel is at the intersection of two out-of-phase realities, the physical reality and the astral reality. The trip to Egypt was made in less than 2 days and the route was traveled with the help of electric vehicles that are powered by an atomic battery, the process used being that of cold atomic fusion. The mysterious room that is connected by this tunnel with the extraterrestrial structure of Buski Mountains is located underground, between the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx on the Giza Plateau in Egypt. It was called the occult room, because it is a room that was actually planted in the earth, without any connection with the surface, the only way of access being through this tunnel that connects with the structure in the Buski Mountains. The occult room has the shape of a square with a side of about 10 meters and a height of about 7 meters, being protected at the entrance by a giant stone gate. The room is lit by itself without a visible source for it, and the air is very clean and ionized, although there is no connection with the surface and no vent. In the middle of the room is a device that is a faithful scale copy of the cylinder on the pedestal in the projection hall in Buski Mountains, but this one in Egypt is designed to be easily used by a human being of medium height. This device is a time travel machine, but not with the body but at the level of consciousness, by accessing the Akashic clichés. Specifically, the body remains in the physical plane and consciousness experiences a temporal fragment as if it were there with the body. The one who travels through time at the level of consciousness is in the position of an outside observer. That is, he can see and feel everything exactly as the event he observes took place without being conditioned by the limitations of the physical body. In the underground chamber there is a huge purple crystal almost 2 meters high, with a sharp tip that can only be seen under certain conditions, and an anti-gravity platform. The anti-gravity platform is made of a special alloy of gold and an unknown metal, and has a length of about 2 meters and a thickness of only 3 centimeters, resembling very well a surfboard. The only accessory of the platform is a dark blue crystal that does not come from Earth, and has a pyramid shape being recessed symmetrically to the sides of the platform. The platform can only be set in motion if consciousness is focused on this blue crystal. The wall on the right side of the room is covered with an organic radioactive substance, based on yttrium and 4 other elements that are not found on our planet. Also on the left wall, is a kind of multi-story ensemble like a library, with many shelves extended on the left wall and the one behind the hall. On these shelves are tens of thousands of plates made of platinum, zirconium, and lanthanum, and in addition to these there is an element that does not appear in the table of elements on Earth. These tablets contain information from different periods of the history of our planet but also of the universe. They look like a silver cigarette case, glossy with a side of about 12 centimeters and a thickness of about 7 to 8 millimeters. The shelves are carved directly into the rock of the wall and very well sanded, the tiles being placed neatly at a distance not exceeding 1 centimeter from each other. One of the plates, when it was activated by Radu Sinamar, presented in the form of a hologram, images with an irregularly shaped galaxy in which from time to time huge explosions appeared. Those explosions were actually supernovas, and that was when that galaxy ceased to exist in a violent way, as if something bad had happened there. It seems that after the discovery made in Egypt, it took several years to develop a technology that allows the download of information from platinum tablets found in the occult room. If at the beginning the information on a tablet was downloaded in about a year, at this moment the extraction of the information also from a tablet takes a little less than a month, and the accuracy of the extracted information is about 80%. The operations of decoding and classifying the tablets are done in Romania, in a special laboratory intended exclusively for this task, and after decoding the tablets are to be taken back to the shelves in the occult room in Egypt. Also from the book The Mystery of Egypt, The First Tunnel, we learn that Caesar Brad used the time machine in the occult room and thus could see several important moments from the time when Jesus was among men. It seems that many of Jesus' teachings to humans have been obscured over time or altered according to certain interests that had nothing to do with spirituality. There was also a time when Caesar Brad projected himself with the device from Egypt, next to a group of people who were around Jesus. Then it seems that Jesus felt Caesar's presence and looked up at him. As Jesus continued to speak to the people gathered around him, he told Caesar Brad that, it is good that he is there, and that his future investigations will create a complex chain of successive causalities, that will greatly help those who will have the power to understand.